Defendants object to court's November 14, 2025 order docket 291 scheduling a closed-door status conference on defendant's joint motion to disqualify, dismiss indictment, vacate schedule order, reopen pretrial hearings.
Lil Durk's fans allegedly threatened the judge and prosecutor with death, and now his lawyers are demanding the entire case be dropped. The feds hid these threats for 7 months. Is he finally coming home, or will these murder-for-hire charges stick? I've got the full story. Let's break it down. The feds tried to play dirty and got caught. Alright, so for everybody who ain't been keeping up, let me put you on game real quick. Lil Durk, government name Dirk Derrick Banks, got snatched up by the feds on October 24th, 2024, and they caught him at the airport in Florida trying to bounce out the country. The feds claim my man orchestrated a whole murder-for-hire operation that went down August 19th, 2022, at a gas station by the Beverly Center in LA. Now here's where it gets real grimy. They was trying to catch Quando Rondo slipping, but instead, they ended up hitting his blood cousin Saviaya Lul Pab Robinson. According to the feds, this whole thing was get back for what happened to King Von in November 2020, when Von got smoked during that whole situation with Quando Rondo's people down in Atlanta.
He's 32, a successful rapper, and a Grammy Award winner. Federal authorities say Lil Durk is also behind an alleged murder-for-hire plot.
Wow, guys. We have Lil Durk, who been gone now for a year, is what it's looking like.
The charges ain't no joke, my boy. Durk facing conspiracy to commit murder for hire, using interstate facilities to commit murder resulting in death, and stalking resulting in death. If he catch that L in court, we talking about life behind the wall. There ain't no negotiating. It's either beat it or you done. Straight up. Now, what the feds saying they got on Smirk? Bruh, they claim they got the whole playbook. According to the paperwork, OTF credit cards was used to book flights from Chicago to Cali, cop ski masks, and pay for hotel rooms for the shooters. They saying at least 18 shots got let off at Quando's whip. But check this out. They claim Durk sent a text to his people saying, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with me," the same day the shooters caught their flight to LA. And get this, Durk himself hopped on a PJ with his co-defendant Kayvon Grant around that same time.
According to the complaint, Banks and his co-conspirators allegedly worked together to, quote, track, stalk, and attempt to murder a target at a Los Angeles gas station, firing at least 18 rounds into the person's vehicle.
He's 32, a successful rapper, and a Grammy Award winner. Federal authorities say Lil Durk is also behind an alleged murder-for-hire plot.
The feds also talking about they got wiretaps and bank records that supposedly show Durk was the one calling shots. They claim Grant used Durk's card to buy them ski masks and book rooms for the hitters. Now, Durk pleaded not guilty, and his squad been going crazy trying to fight this. But on paper, the evidence looking kinda thick, not gonna lie. Now here's where this whole story goes left. On November 13th, 2025, Durk's legal dream team filed a motion to throw the whole damn case out. And the reason? They saying the government been playing dirty, hiding crucial information from them for over 7 months. Here's what went down in these streets. On February 22nd, 2025, 4 voicemails got left for U.S. Magistrate Judge Patricia Donahue. Now these wasn't just regular hate mail, these was straight up threats on her life. One message allegedly said, "If they get life, I'm gonna burn this mother night down. I'm talking about the world, and I'm going to burn it to the ground." But wait, there's more. On April 28, 2025, the head prosecutor, Ian Yaniello, caught a threatening phone call too, with somebody telling him and his people to free Durk or get shot.
Under the judicial system, in order for a attorney or somebody in your behalf, this is one of the biggest fights in California history, in the federal jurisdiction. This shows you what a $1 billion attorney, to bring the facts that Durk's attorneys found out through their investigation that there was a conspiracy with the judge, the prosecutor, and the investigators to weigh aside and cause threats that Durk had killers putting a contract on the judge.
So check it. The FBI hopped on this immediately. They put all the federal judges in California on alert. U.S. Marshals started providing security. This was serious business. But here's the messy part. They ain't tell Durk's lawyers about none of this until October 1st, 2025. That's more than 7 months later, bruh. Now you might be thinking, okay, so some wild fans made threats. How that helped Durk? Well, let me break down the legal sauce for you. Judge Donahue ran a bail hearing on May 8th, 2025, where she basically said nah to letting Durk out. But at that time, she was catching death threats, supposedly from Durk's supporters, and nobody told the defense about it. Durk's lawyers saying this created a whole conflict of interest situation. They arguing the judge couldn't be impartial, and that if they knew about the threats, they could have asked for a different judge, but they got left in the dark, and now they saying every ruling made during that time is tainted.
So when they found out about it, and they did not, this has been going on for the last couple of weeks, I guess. And when they found out about it and they presented it to the court had hid it and not said anything about it to the defense. So that means that if a judge is being threatened by a defendant, in all actuality, he should, what they call, recuse himself, get off the bench, and let another judge take this over.
In their 25-page motion, Durk's attorneys laid it out. The integrity of criminal prosecution depends on transparency and impartiality. Here, both were federally compromised. These violations strike at the core of due process and constitutional guarantees of receiving fair hearings in front of an impartial decision maker. Dismissal is the only adequate remedy. They ain't just asking for a new judge neither. They demanding the whole case get thrown out, or at minimum, move to a completely different district with brand new judges and prosecutors. That's how serious they think this violation is. Now, the prosecution wasn't about to just sit there and take it. They called Durk's motion frivolous and extreme, saying they disclosed the threats as soon as they wrapped up their investigation. They claiming they was protecting the integrity of the investigation and that everything was done by the book. But here's where it gets sus. The prosecutors also asking for an anonymous jury, using these same threats as proof that Durk's supporters trying to intimidate people connected to the case. So on one hand, they saying the threats ain't that serious, just some fans talking wild. But on the other hand, they using those same threats to justify hiding the jury's identities and all that extra security. Prosecutors wrote in their filing, defendant supporters have already attempted to intimidate individuals connected to this case. They painting a picture of Durk as somebody with a dangerous network that can reach out and touch federal officials. A hearing on this motion was supposed to happen on November 18, 2025, in front of Judge Michael Fitzgerald in the LA federal court. And let me tell you, this about to be intense as hell. Legal experts all over the country watching this, because this type of situation where death threats to a judge get hidden from the defense don't pop off often.
So we got some stuff to get into because, bruh, what the hell? The feds decided to respond, then the judge responded, then turn around, Drew already on their heels like, y'all can't even do this until something else happens.
Now, most legal heads saying that getting the whole case dismissed is a long shot. Federal precedents usually favor the prosecution, and judges don't like throwing out entire cases over procedural mess-ups. But getting the case moved to a different district, that's more realistic. Having all the judges in Central California disqualify themselves, that could happen too. The trial currently set for January 20th, 2026, but depending on how this motion goes, that date might get pushed back. And if Durk's team succeeds in getting the case moved, we could be looking at a whole different ballgame. The streets talking and the evidence stacking up. Before we get into the current situation, let's talk about Lil Durk's rap sheet, because it's important to understand how the feds approaching this whole prosecution. Durk been catching cases since he was young. Back in 2011, he got knocked for gun possession during a shooting investigation and sat down for 3 months. In 2012, he copped a plea for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon and did another 3 months. In 2013, he got bagged again for having a stolen burner and spent 43 days locked up. In 2014, he caught another gun charge while on probation, but that one eventually got dropped. The most serious charge before this came in 2019, when Durk and King Von got hit with attempted murder in Atlanta for some shooting at the Varsity restaurant. But those charges got dismissed in 2022. Here's what's crazy though. In September 2024, just weeks before he got knocked on this case, Durk got his whole criminal record expunged. He had cleaned up his past legally, and then boom, federal murder for hire charges came crashing down. Let's get into the specifics of what the government claiming happened. According to the indictment, indictment, this all stems from the ongoing beef between OTF, Only the Family, and the crew that's affiliated with Quando Rondo and NBA YoungBoy. King Von got killed on November 6, 2020, outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta. The shooting popped off during an altercation between Von's people and Quando Rondo's people. Timothy Leaks, known as Lil Tim, who was part of Quando's security, was the one who let them shots go that killed Von. Those charges against Lil Tim eventually got dropped in 2023. Now, according to prosecutors, Durk wasn't about to let that slide. They claiming he put a bag on Quando Rondo's head and used OTF resources to fund a whole retaliation operation.
You wouldn't tell somebody to not book a flight under your name if you thought that they were going to do regular old business. If you thought they was going to LA to do a meeting about you and your next album, you wouldn't tell them to not do it in your name. You would only tell somebody, don't book no flights under no names involved with me. You will only say that to somebody who you know is about to go do something illegal and you don't want yourself involved with it.
Fast forward to August 19th, 2022. 5 OTF members caught flights from Chicago to LA on one-way tickets bought with OTF-affiliated credit cards. That same day, Durk hopped on a private jet to Cali with Kayvon Grant. That evening, shooters in 2 whips tracked Quando Rondo to a gas station near the Beverly Center. They let off at least 18 shots at his ride, killing his cousin Saviaya Lul Pab Robinson. Quando Rondo made it out unharmed. Grant allegedly used Durk's card to cop ski masks for the shooters and pay for their hotel rooms. That's the paper trail the feds leaning heavy on. Now, Durk ain't the only one catching heat in this indictment. 5 other brothers got charged. Kayvon London Grant, OTF C Murda, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, OTF Dady, Keith Jones, OTF Sleazy, David Brian Lindsay, OTF Boom, and Asa Houston, OTF Booney Mo.
Lil Durk's federal case just hit a whole new level of chaos. So authorities are now requesting an anonymous jury after alleged threats against a judge and prosecutor. Prosecutors say the rapper tried to destroy an Apple Watch in jail to cover his tracks, and he's now being accused of allegedly taking out hits on his own O-Block associates.
And here's where things get real spicy for Durk. Word on the street is the government got a star witness, somebody who's cooperating. We don't know who this snitch is yet because the feds keep cooperating witnesses' names sealed until trial. But apparently, this witness done changed their story multiple times. According to court documents, this witness first said there was no bounty and that they acted under duress. Then they flipped the script and said there was a bounty and that co-defendant DeAndre Wilson stayed in LA to collect and distribute the bread. But the defense saying this second story contradicts objective evidence, which is why the government removed language about Wilson paying out the bounty in the superseding indictment. This is major, my people. A key witness changing their story, that's the kind of thing that can blow up a case, or at least give the defense a lot of ammo during cross-examination. Now, let's talk about something that's been at the center of debates for years, using rap lyrics as evidence in criminal cases. In the original indictment against Durk, prosecutors included bars from his song Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy as evidence that he was celebrating and monetizing the killing of Lul Pab. The government argued these lyrics was Durk's way of flexing about the hit, but Durk's defense team immediately pushed back, saying the song was recorded 7 months before the shooting even happened. They provided file-stamped audio and producer testimony to prove it. Unless Durk got psychic powers, there's no way those lyrics could have been about that specific incident.
However, there was no screams in it. What the government said is, look at these lyrics. These lyrics seem to be, they don't seem to be, they are celebrating and ultimately monetizing this incident. To which we responded, and I have to tell you, Vlad, we immediately started hearing from not only people that are connected to Durk, but like executives in the music industry. People were just reaching out to us, go, you know the government's wrong, right? You do know that music, you don't go to a studio on a Saturday and produce a song on Monday. And then we started doing our homework, interviewing the producers, and found out that that song and the Durk part of it was done 7 months beforehand.
In a superseding indictment issued in May 2025, the government removed those lyric references entirely. That's a big W for Durk's defense, but it also shows how eager prosecutors was to use his art against him, even when the facts didn't support it. This is part of a larger issue in hip-hop culture. California passed the Decriminalizing Artistic Expression Act in 2022, which limits the use of rap lyrics in criminal cases. But this is a federal case, so that state law don't apply.
And I'm sensitive to that issue because I don't know of another art form, and you have your finger on the pulse of rap as good as anybody in the world right now. And I guarantee you that Vlad cannot tell me another musical genre in which the government plays the game, if you have kids, and I know you do, Where's Waldo, right? Where they sit and look through not hundreds, not thousands, but probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of verses, and tries to find something that they think in their prosecutor's office or their law enforcement offices is somehow connected possibly to a crime. That's disconcerting to people that care about this musical genre.
But wait, there's more smoke. Unsealed documents done linked Durk to other alleged murder-for-hire plots. In December 2024, reports came out connecting him to a 2021 Chicago murder involving Stefan Mack, allegedly in retaliation for his brother D-Thang's death. A confidential witness also accused Durk of placing bounties on 6 other people. No charge has been filed in those cases, but it's all part of the narrative prosecutors building. Prosecutors planning to present witness testimony, claiming that Durk ordered hits on his own OTF associates who failed to get back for King Von's death. If true, this paints Durk as somebody who was ruthless in maintaining control and demanding loyalty. But again, no new charge has been filed based on these allegations. They just being used to make him look bad in front of a jury. Here's another piece of the puzzle. In late August 2025, Bureau of Prisons officials confiscated an Apple Watch with cellular capability from Durk while he was locked up. Having a cell phone or smart device in federal jail is a serious violation, but it gets worse. Prosecutors alleging that when Durk got caught with the watch, he tried to destroy it. They're using this as evidence that Durk willing to obstruct justice and tamper with evidence. They also claiming Durk was making unregulated 3-way phone calls from the Metropolitan Detention Center in LA, which is another violation. The government using all this to argue that Durk is a danger and shouldn't get let out on bond. Speaking of bond, Durk been denied bail multiple times. Judge Patricia Donahue denied his release in May 2025, and Judge Michael Fitzgerald upheld that decision in June 2025. Durk's legal team offered a $1 million cash bond, $900,000 in real estate, $150,000 from an associate, plus 24/7 armed security and electronic monitoring. But the government argued he was a flight risk, pointing to the fact that he had booked multiple international flights before his arrest.
And so same thing, it was incompletely presented. As soon as we got in and we did our due diligence, right, we got the complete itineraries. And the complete itineraries were all going to Dubai. And so they would just, instead of doing the first and the second stop, I think one of them, for example, was Miami to Newark to, like, say Rome, and then to Dubai. They had it stop at Rome, for example. I can't remember where. And so we got the complete itineraries. Each of them ended in Dubai. Here was the problem. Each of them ended in Dubai, but they were row like 52 middle seat. And respectfully, it's Lil Durk. He's internationally famous. He's not gonna sit in the middle row for 17 hours in the back of the plane.
His attorney, Drew Findling, aka the billion-dollar lawyer, argued that Durk wasn't trying to flee, he was just trying to get to Dubai for business, and when commercial flights didn't have good seats, he booked a private jet. The probation officer actually recommended Durk for release, finding he wasn't a flight risk, but the judges wasn't buying it. The Hood's reaction and what's really at stake. When news dropped on November 14, 2025, that Durk's team filed a motion to dismiss over hidden death threats, the internet absolutely lost it. The post from a college kid racked up over 1.1 million views, and the comments was a whole battlefield. Some fans was hyped, Lil Durk might actually walk free soon, and everyone that counted him out gonna be looking stupid. Others was more skeptical, pointing out that the feds don't play around, and that beating a federal case is extremely rare. But here's where it gets wild. The original post included a video clip that was actually from the movie Menace to Society, not actual footage of threats. The dramatic movie, quote, "If they get life, I'm going to burn this museum house down," was used for effect, but it wasn't real evidence. This is the kind of sensationalized content that can cloud the truth and make it hard to separate facts from fiction. Here's a question that keeps coming up in the streets. Were these threats actually from Durk's fans, or was this some kind of setup? The FBI investigated and determined the threats was serious enough to warrant providing security to judges and prosecutors across the Central District of California. But the callers was anonymous, and there's no direct evidence linking them to Durk or OTF, prosecutors describing them as supporters of Durk, but some folks online speculating that this could have been orchestrated by the government to create a narrative, or by random people with no connection to Durk who just wanted to cause chaos.
I hate rats. All rats, I hate them all. If you a rat, I effing hate you. Because you took my dad away from me. A snitch got my dad, thrown in prison for this much time. You don't think? Y'all ever met one of them weird kids who doesn't like a figure or something like that based off of something that figure might have did or might have said, and they might even be a good person? It's the same shit. The same shit. There are people who hate Santa Claus right now because Santa Claus never dropped no Christmas presents underneath their tree.
Durk's attorney, Drew Findling, hasn't directly addressed whether he believes the threats was legitimate or manufactured, but his motion makes clear that regardless of the source, the government's failure to disclose them violated Durk's constitutional rights. This case is part of a larger pattern of rap artists getting targeted by prosecutors who use their lyrics, their affiliations, and their public personas against them. Critics arguing that hip-hop is the only musical genre where artists' creative expression is routinely weaponized in criminal prosecutions. You don't see country singers getting indicted over songs about drinking and driving or shooting people. You don't see rock bands prosecuted for violent imagery. But rappers, they lyrics get treated as confessions. Durk's family put out a statement addressing this issue. Rap is art. Durk has always used music to tell stories, to express pain, to heal, and yet those same lyrics are now being used against him. We refuse to stay silent as black artists continue to be criminalized for their creativity. The YSL RICO case in Atlanta is another example. Young Thug was held for over 2 years while prosecutors tried to prove that his lyrics was evidence of criminal activity. He eventually took a plea deal, but not before the case dragged on for years and cost him millions in legal fees. Interestingly, Quando Rondo, the alleged target of this murder-for-hire plot, been relatively quiet about the recent developments. After Durk's initial arrest in October 2024, Quando posted some vague messages on IG about forgiveness and moving forward, which some people interpreted as indirect commentary on the case. But since the November 2025 motion about the death threats, there's been no public statement from Quando or his camp. That silence is notable. It's possible his lawyers advised him to stay quiet, especially since this case is ongoing and could potentially involve him as a witness. NBA YoungBoy, who'd been caught up in the broader beef between Durk's OTF and Quando's camp, also remained silent. The beef between Durk and YoungBoy escalated in 2022, with diss tracks like YoungBoy's I Hate YoungBoy and Durk's I Hey. But there was claims in 2023 that the two had squashed the beef. Still, tensions clearly still lingering. Aight, let's keep it a buck. What's Durk's actual chances of beating this case? Most legal experts saying the motion to dismiss is a long shot. Federal judges extremely reluctant to throw out entire cases, especially high-profile ones. The standard for dismissal based on prosecutorial misconduct is very high, and the government gonna argue they acted appropriately by waiting until their investigation was complete. However, getting the case transferred to another district is more realistic. If the defense can convince an appellate court that the Central District of California is too compromised by the death threats, they might succeed in moving the trial to Oregon or another jurisdiction, as Durk's attorneys requested.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear on this one thing. You move to Oregon, are you in Texas, are you in LA, are you in Atlanta, are you in wherever you take this case to, the way that it's pretty much playing out, they got a fight ahead of them, man.
Let me say this. If I had a case in California, the case that I had in Oregon, I would have went to the penitentiary.
So you saying you think this is gonna pretty much change the whole dynamic of the case, moving it to Oregon?
As for the actual merits of the case, it's complicated, my people. The evidence against Durk includes wiretaps, financial records showing OTF credit cards used for flights and equipment, text messages, and potentially cooperating witnesses. That's heavy. But the defense already scored wins, like getting the rap lyrics removed from the indictment, and they exposed inconsistencies in witness statements. If they can continue to chip away at the government's case, create reasonable doubt, and put on a strong defense, there's a chance.
Well, in the worst case situation, how much time is he facing if he blows trial?
Vlad, this is
life.
This is a life imprisonment case.
Okay.
There's no in between. This isn't state court. There's no, hey, we'll do 10, 15. It's a life case.
Right. Could it be a capital murder case where he's possibly facing the death penalty?
Well, that Under the federal system, that possibility exists. We've not been given notice of that.
In the worst case situation, how much time is he facing if he goes to trial? Vlad, this is a life imprisonment case. There's no in between. This isn't state court. There's no, hey, we'll do 10, 15. It's a life case, right? Could it be a capital murder case where he's possibly facing a death penalty? Well, that, under the federal system, that possibility exists. We've not been given notice of that. But let's be real. Federal cases have a conviction rate of over 90%. The government don't bring charges unless they're confident they can win. And in a case like this, where somebody died and there's a paper trail linking OTF resources to the crime, the odds ain't in Durk's favor. The trial currently scheduled for January 20th, 2026. But depending on how the November 18th hearing goes and whether there's appeals, that date could get pushed back. A major pretrial hearing set for June 2nd, 2025, where the motion to dismiss gonna be fully argued. If the judge denies the motion, the defense likely gonna appeal. If the judge grants it, which would be shocking, the government definitely gonna appeal. Either way, this case gonna drag on. In the meantime, Durk remains locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in LA, and his legal team continues to fight for his release on bond. One thing working in Durk's favor is his legal team. Drew Findling, known as the billion-dollar lawyer, is leading the defense. Findling Dunn represented everybody from Gucci Mane to Cardi B to Lil Baby to NBA Youngboy, and he known for his aggressive, creative defense strategies. Findling already won major victories, like getting Lil Baby's charges reduced to time served, and getting YFN Lucci a deal that allowed him to get out in the near future. He also helped NBA Youngboy beat multiple gun and drug cases. If anybody can navigate the complexities of a federal murder-for-hire case, it's Findling. But even he admit this is an uphill battle. Regardless of how Durk's case ends, it's yet another example of the criminal justice system's complicated relationship with hip-hop culture. Drill music in particular been under scrutiny for years. Critics say it glorifies violence and fuels real-world beef. Supporters argue it's just a reflection of the harsh realities of life in places like Chicago's South Side. The truth probably somewhere in between, but what's clear is that when law enforcement targets drill rappers, they not just prosecuting crimes, they trying to silence a whole culture. Durk himself tried to pivot toward more positive messaging in recent years. He started the Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, converted to Islam, and talked about moving away from violent content. But his past, and the past of OTF, done caught up with him. So where does that leave us? Lil Durk facing life behind the wall in a case that hinges on text, messages, credit card receipts, witness testimony, and a paper trail that the Fed's been building for over 2 years. His defense team filed a bombshell motion arguing that death threats to the judge and prosecutor was hidden from them, potentially tainting the entire case. Whether that motion succeeds or not, going to determine a lot about how this trial proceeds. Durk always maintained his innocence, and his fans rallying behind him on social media. But the federal government got a conviction rate of over 90%, and they wouldn't have brought these charges unless they believed they had a strong case. The trial set for January 2026, but with pretrial motions, appeals, and the possibility of the case being moved to a different district, we could be looking at months or even years before this resolved. One thing's for sure, this case gonna be watched closely, not just by Durk's fans, but by the entire hip-hop community, because how it plays out could set precedents for how rap lyrics used in court, how the feds prosecute artists with alleged gang ties, and whether procedural violations like hiding death threats can actually derail a federal case. Thank you for watching.